All right, good morning, everybody. Chilly morning, but we'll get started. My name is Gregory McCarthy, and I have the privilege of serving as the president of the Board of Trustees of the D.C. Public Library. And I'm joined here by two of my colleagues. Leif Dormjo is here today. Where's Leif? There he is, back there. And Monty Manash, two excellent public servants. Thank you very much. So I have two jobs today. One is to welcome you, and the other is to acknowledge the VIPs in attendance. So on the first one, welcome. Welcome. Are we happy to be here? Is this a great occasion or what? There we go. Well, in terms of acknowledging distinguished people here, I should really start by looking out to the audience, because the most important distinguished VIPs here today are the people of Southwest and this great community. So let's start with that. You're the reason that actually we're here today, and it's because of your passion for this library, your patronage of this library, your advocacy for this library, and your innate belief that this library is an important civic institution that helps anchor this community. Isn't that right? It helps anchor this community. So thank you for getting us to this occasion. Now, my day job is actually here in this community. So I work very closely with ANC 6D, the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly, the Community Benefits Coordinating Council, and I can tell you this neighborhood is uniquely served by institutions that advocate very, very well for its residents. So congratulations to the ANC, to the Southwest SWANA, and the CBCC as well. Now, another element of success is elected leaders who get it, who can channel the goodwill and the advocacy of a community into projects that are meaningful and long-lasting. Right at the top of our list for there is our distinguished mayor, the Honorable Muriel Bowser, who's on her way. So in absentia, a round of applause for Mayor Bowser. As well as Ward 6 very, very own council member Charles Allen, who's with us today. There he is. Make no bones about it, they found the money to make today possible. Thank you very much. We're also blessed with library professionals who deliver every day world-class services. So I want to have a round of applause for our Executive Director, Rich Reyes-Gavilan, and the whole staff at DCPL that delivers day in and day out. So we have enlightened citizens, vibrant neighborhoods, effective political leaders, and great library staff that make this possible. But look at this in the context of something even bigger. Over the last 15 years, we've begun a complete renaissance of the DC Public Library system. Out of 25 branches, this is the 22nd that's going to be completely redone or overhauled in a world-class facility. And later this year, we unveil the new downtown library named after the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and that's going to be a world-class civic institution right here in downtown. So that's coming too. So 22 branches out of 25, a brand new library. I would argue that any other city would take a generation to achieve that. We've done it in about 15 years. That's pretty good. I don't think you'll get that elsewhere. So next week, you're going to be here again looking at this thing. So we're going to be in a couple years, right, Rich?
End of this year.
And end of this year, that's great. So we're having a little bit of a change of order here. So there's another particular element that we've got to acknowledge. That is the Friends of the Southwest Library. How lucky are we as an institution to have a community-based organization whose goal is to help us serve you better? And I want to recognize Georgine Wallace, who's the president of that. Now, I'll tell you why she's great. Not only is she very good at telling us when we need to do more and do things better and do things faster, but she also has the grace to tell us when we do things well and to support us and encourage us. And that's very, very valued. So thank you for all you do and all the friends of the Southwest Neighborhood Library. That's why we're here today. So I'm going to turn it over to our Executive Director, Rich Reyes-Gavilan.
Thank you, Gregory. I was hoping that you could stand behind me and tear up my notes after I'm done talking. I'm kidding. Good morning, everyone. I am Rich Reyes-Gavilan, the Executive Director of the DC Public Library. So privileged to work with Gregory and our colleagues on the Board of Trustees who are really adamant about our working on behalf of residents to deliver just spectacular libraries and spectacular services. So round of applause to Gregory and his team on the board. They really are just amazing volunteers. My remarks will be very short. Gregory actually already just said so much of what I wanted to say. In addition to thanking the Federation and the Friends, the DC Public Library Foundation under the new leadership of Rob Hartman is just doing great work, and I'm really excited to work with them. The Southwest Bid, Steve Moore, thank you so much for all the work that you guys have done, especially to help us get the interim space and just all of your advocacy. Steve, really, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you so much. The staff of the library really is just an incredible group of people, so many of whom are here this morning. I do want to recognize Melinda McCall, who is our branch manager at Southwest, who is a rock star. We love her. And in terms of our capital planning team, I will say Jaspreet Pawa is just a force of nature, and we're so lucky to have her on board. Perkins and Will and Turner, our design build team, you guys did great work, and we spent a lot of time together over the past couple of years making sure that we got this just the way the community wanted it, and I just can't wait for it to get started. Director Wells from the Department of Energy and Environment is not here this morning, but I will say that DOEE was very helpful in terms of making this building more sustainable. There's going to be battery storage and some other sustainability features that they're contributing to, so we're really excited about that. And I do want to recognize a colleague of mine on the Mayor's Cabinet, Delano Hunter from the Parks and Recreation. Where's Delano? There he is. Parks and Rec is contributing about $500,000 to the improvements of this park right here. So it's going to be a really beautiful little education and recreational campus when this is all said and done. So just very briefly, there has just been explosive growth and change in Southwest, and everyone made that very clear to me when I first got here, right, Georgine? But I will say that one thing that people asked me when we started work is that can we have a beautiful building, something striking, yet really respectful of the neighborhood's iconic architecture and its longtime residents. And we're going to do that. And of course, we're going to do it in WISE because you all demanded that we do it. I will say that we've had great projects in DC, but few have had the deep level of community engagement that this Southwest project has had. Many nights in that really horrible basement in this old building. But people were just very clear. Nobody holds anything back. And it was all done, and really it's in the spirit of, look, we all love libraries. We all have ownership of libraries. So don't tell me what's going to be good for me. I'm going to tell you what's going to be good for me. And all is said and done, we're all going to be very happy with what ultimately we end up with. But it all does get started with the funding, and so I am so thankful to the mayor for her work, and to our next speaker, Ward 6 Council Member Charles Allen, who really is a patron saint of libraries. He's got so many wonderful stories involving his own family, and of course he's got 6 libraries in his ward, so he's very busy with oversight, and we're always trying very hard to impress him, and I think we do a pretty good job at it. So please join me in welcoming Council Member Charles Allen.
Thank you so much, Rich. Your words were so good. I'm not even going to tear up your piece of paper. You did great. Thank you all so much for coming out. This is exciting. This is a really big day. It's a really big milestone for Southwest. But this would not happen but for the incredible residents and neighbors and leaders of Southwest. That's our A&C commissioners. I want to give Ron Collins and the entire A&C a big round of applause. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to introduce Georgine Wallace in just a little bit, but really Georgine has been just a titan and has been just an incredible, fierce advocate, not just for Southwest, but for this library. So Georgine, thank you for your incredible leadership here. My story with the Southwest Branch Library really goes back to about 6 years ago, and Rich and I's story is intrinsically linked to the Southwest Branch Library. 6 years ago, I had just gotten elected to represent you here in Ward 6, and at that time, the city's plan was to sell off this piece of property, develop this property, and we were going to tuck in a library somewhere on 4th Street on a second or third floor somewhere. And we attended a meeting in that wonderful basement. It was hot and sweaty and packed to the gills. But we made clear in no uncertain terms that this community needed to preserve a standalone library, that this was a civic space, it was a gathering space. We had worked hard to help outline how we were going to build a park in this space, and I cannot imagine losing this in Southwest, losing the space that it's going to become. So after that meeting, Rich and he had just come on board, and I had just met with him, and I said, I don't want you to do this, and he said, well, go see if you can help find me the money, and we'll see what we can do. So we've also been joined by Mayor Muriel Bowser, who just got here, so let's give her a round of applause. So Ms. Bowser had just gotten elected our mayor, and so she did the thing where she reaches out to the new incoming council member, and we sit down and we talk about some shared priorities and projects, and I talked about this library, and I said, right now the city's scheduled to sell this land off, and we're going to lose this space. And to her credit and to her whole team, right away we worked on a plan to find the money, to put into the budget, to make sure the city was not going to lose this, but instead we were going to build the library that Southwest deserves. We were going to make sure we preserve this land to be this public asset that it can be, and the mayor delivered on that, and I'm really grateful for the partnership we have that's going to turn into something really proud. So I want to give you another round of applause to the mayor for helping make sure that happened. So my history with this branch also goes a little further. About, 30 yards that way. One of the first things I did when I got elected council member is I introduced legislation to create the Books from Birth program. And we chose the Southwest Branch Library to kick that off because we knew how special it was. Throughout the years, my family has come here. I have 2 kids, and we've been on that second floor many, many times, bringing us in because we've just had such a phenomenal youth and kids activities here at the Southwest Branch Library. It's been an incredibly special place. This is also a space it's a safe harbor for kids across Southwest. It is a wonderful asset. And as we talked about what we want this space to be, we knew all the great things that the Southwest Branch had been despite what held it back in terms of physical space. And we pushed and pulled on each other. And as I look at this picture, and I can't wait till we are together cutting the ribbon, we're going to be so proud of this. We're going to be so proud of the facility that you helped build, that you helped shape, that you helped guide to create something that is going to be very special, that we're going to enjoy. But frankly, this is going to set generations of Southwest residents and neighbors. They're going to really be able to enjoy this space. And I believe it's going to be something that helps knit together this community. This community is going through a lot all around us, but in this space, it is going to be something that we have preserved and protected, a library, parks, our play spaces, our civic spaces, and it really will be that civic hall where we're all going to meet each other and catch up and really bring us together and knit us together. So I'm really thrilled with what we're doing here. One of the people who has helped make that happen has been my good friend Georgine Wallace. So Georgine is the head of the Friends of Southwest Branch Library. She has been, again, a fierce advocate to help make sure that we collectively build this vision. The successes we're celebrating today and the successes that we're going to celebrate when we cut the ribbon at the end of the year, Rich? That sounded really fast, but...
No, we'll be done at the end of the year, but we won't be ready to cut the ribbon at the end of the year.
Whenever it is that we cut the ribbon, it's dangerous to say a date. Whenever it is that we cut the ribbon, this is because of you guys. Really, this is the Southwest neighbors, but we've had a wonderful leader among all the leaders of Southwest, and Georgine has done a phenomenal job of helping push us, pull us, praise us at times when we need it, but has really done a phenomenal job. So it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Georgine Wallace to help say a few words.
The problem about doing the speaking order is that the best stuff gets taken by other people. When we first started this, we heard in 2015 that we were going to get a library. Some of us looked at each other and thought, we have absolutely nothing about library design. So we gathered together a work group, and we partnered with the great people of the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly under Bruce Levine. I don't know if Bruce is here or not, but Bruce was the current the president then, and Donna Purchase is the current president. And so we've had a great relationship with them. And what we did is we figured out what we liked, what we didn't like about certain things about other libraries. We brought it back. We also developed a list of interim sites. So we then took that list of interim sites and gave it to DCPL and Rich's amazing team, construction team. I don't know if Andrew Blumenfeld's here or not, but Jaspreet's here. And they said, well, we'll pick this site. So once that site was chosen, they had the best bid in the city to help introduce them to the owner of that property, and that would be our own Southwest bid led by Steve Moore. And he and Lexi Albee, Steve, he and Lexi Albee helped make that introduction to the owner, who was Forest City, and Deborah Ratner Salzberg. They gave us the use of that land on which, at 425M, on which our beautiful interim now sits. And now our ANC members were also critical to our effort. At the time we started this, I didn't know a PUD from DOD, and it was a long, it was an incredible learning curve for me, and I thank every member of the ANC, 60 past and present. It's one of the busiest ANCs in the city, and they always had time for help, and I will make my own commissioner feel kind of uncomfortable, Andy Litsky. He's a legend in this city for a reason. His knowledge of Southwest was invaluable, as is his friendship and goodwill. So bless you, Andy. Thank you. And another couple shout outs I'd like to make is our friends at Metropolitan Police Department, who are there for us day in, day out. Anything from service calls to programming. So Commander Kane and Captain Pulliam was here at one point. They've let their officers, and they've come in and done different things like programming, and so I want to thank them as well, because they're part of our community, and they answer questions on things like, so how important are sight lines to this design? So they suffered through that with us as well. One person who's not a Southwester, but who I want to make sure is mentioned in this realm, is the president of the Federation of Friends Groups, Susan Haight. And Susan is another force of nature. She is an incredible advocate of the library. She teaches us so much about the libraries and the love of libraries just by every day of her work, and with her own experience with the lovely West End Library. I also want to thank Chairman Grasso. The Education Committee has jurisdiction over the libraries, and Chairman Grasso has done so much for us and been there. But our own councilman, Ward 6, Charles Allen, well, it's hard to talk without getting emotional, but it's been a hard, long 5 years, and he's been there every time. And it's very rare in this day and age when you can say to your council member, I am so proud to be a constituent, and you bring us so much joy with your hard work, and thank you so much for everything, Charles. And I also want to thank and introduce the leader of our city, someone who has been a friend to us from the very beginning, who had faith in us and took a risk with precious city funds and said, of course we'll fund a library. And we'll get that back on the list of construction, no problem. And she realizes that a library is not just a place where you have books. It's the heart of a community, and that's the way it is in Southwest. It's a place where you can go, and people from different socioeconomic backgrounds can meet and develop a common bond. And that's a place that we all need in this day and age, too. So without further ado, I want to introduce our mayor, our friend, and hopefully one day maybe our governor, the Honorable Muriel Bowser.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. What a lovely tribute. Well, good morning, Southwest. It is so wonderful to be here with you, and let's give Georgine a wonderful round of applause for those remarks. And you could hear in her remarks that she has enjoyed, suffered a lot of conversations, decisions about this library, and has been very effective in advocacy for this library. And I want to thank you for all that you do. I, too, join you in congratulating Charles and thanking Charles for his wonderful leadership around this issue. Let's hear it for your council member. Thank you, Charles. And I want to acknowledge the great work of Gregory McCarthy, the chair of the Board of Trustees of DC Public Libraries, the board members who are here. I see Leif Dormschow and Monty Monash. Give them a big round of applause for the work that they do. And all of the ANC commissioners who are here, Andy Litsky, Ricky Kramer, Gail Fast. Are there other ANC commissioners? Ronald Collins, thank you so much. Yes, where are the ANC commissioners? Raise your hands. Give them a big round of applause. Because I know they probably had a lot of votes and community meetings as well, and we appreciate all that they have done. And Charles is absolutely right that this goes back 6 years. That's when I used to call you the new old council member. And I can't believe it's been 6 years already, and you have done incredible work. And I remember back to those days when I was hosting meetings at that time in Ward 6 on another big economic development project, and spent a lot of times knocking on doors and going to community meetings. And Georgine will remember this time too, because the Southwest Library was kind of top of mind for everybody and how we could make that project work for the neighborhood. And sometimes you have to stop projects and think about them in a different way, and that's okay. Other times you have to go and add more money or pull more money and do this, and that's okay too. What Charles and I and all of us assembled should say is that the taxpayers of the District of Columbia are the real heroes here, because you have allowed us over many, many years to make our library system a world-class system. And I want to thank you for that. And I also want to acknowledge one of my predecessors, Mayor Anthony Williams, who had the vision for the transformation of libraries. And sometimes we forget the tough decisions that people made all of those years ago. But I like to remind everybody, I told them down at the council, remember what Tony Williams did for DC Public Libraries and the transformation of Washington, D.C. And so now we are challenged. And Rich gave me a wonderful explanation of how libraries evolved. You are right, not just places for books, but really places and centers of the community. And more than that, they're centers for where people can transform their lives. And so that's what we expect when Martin Luther King Jr. Library opens this fall, and also for all of our neighborhood libraries. We taxpayers should know that we only have a couple left that haven't been transformed. Like a couple. We only have a couple left, and we're going to do those too. So I wanted to say on behalf of all of us in DC, we're happy for the Southwest Library. And the other thing that I have learned, that no matter where you live in the District of Columbia, people travel for libraries. They travel for story time. They travel for all of the amenities that Rich has had the foresight to partner with all DC government agencies, or a number of them, and even more are interested to bring more programs and services to the library. So I want to thank Delano for being here. I guess you're part of a park here, huh? That's fantastic. And I told that sometimes in DC government we get siloed in this agency or that agency. And I told somebody recently, I'm the mayor of DC Public Libraries and DC Parks and Recreation. And that's why we're able to have wonderful synergies like this one you're about to see here. So I'm looking forward to cutting the ribbon, breaking the ground today. It looks like it's pretty substantially broken, which is a good thing. So we'll be back for the opening of the Southwest Library. Congratulations, everybody. Okay. All right. On the count of three, Southwest. 1, 2, 3. Southwest!